Well, let's see. I think we're here. Dark Eagle just sent us kisses. How nice.
Oh, how sweet. We love kisses.
Love kisses, right?
Hello,
Don't
everybody.
get, don't get near enough of them.
All right.
See, let me see. There we are. We are we are now on YouTube officially.
All right. It's happening. So here we are, Internet.
Right.
You guys wanted if other fish and LRB.
There it is. There it is. The world is ours.
Yeah, the world is ours.
Ah,
Two big natural aquarium gurus in one room.
really, imagine that.
And your tank is looking nice and wild back there.
Yeah, that's the 23-year-old tank.
Oh, really? 23 years. So
23 years. Yeah,
you moved it up there with like the substrate and everything?
I did. Yeah,
Dang.
I dropped the water down to about an inch, and
Yeah.
it was at that level for a couple of weeks. I had Formosa in it, and they survived.
Oh, so you even had the fish in there,
A
some of
few,
them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think
So,
I, yeah, I had
how,
Formosa.
how did you keep it from drying out? Was there a certain way you like covered it?
No, I was in
Point?
Florida, so that was pretty wet.
Okay.
And then on the way up, it was. I don't remember covering it, but I guess I did.
Yeah. Usually, whenever I move aquariums, I'll use either a wet paper towel
Something.
or
Yeah.
the cellophane to put over the tank. That way, you keep the humidity in and it doesn't dry
Right.
plants out.
Right.
That's the biggest thing is make sure the plants stay wet. Paper
Right.
towel works pretty good unless it gets sloshed around.
Yeah, I think I lost some plants in the process, but plants grow in this thing like weeds, so
Yeah, yeah.
I
It looks
never
like
really worry about it.
they're going crazy in there.
I took it down about a year and a half ago. The substrate was up to here, it was halfway. And I took
Wow.
3 inches out and then put another half inch of sand, new sand on top of it. And right now it's very malmy. Um, I could clean it out, and I'm thinking I probably will at some point. Just stir it up and drain it down and get a lot of the mold out. I've got a couple of tanks like that. It's a funny thing. They're when they get a lot of mold in them like this. If you look at like a pond environment, it's usually very malmy
Yeah.
and
Oh,
and very healthy. It's
yeah.
not an unhealthy condition. It's an unsightly condition. It
For
doesn't.
some, for some.
Yeah.
So when you think about mulm, it's just nothing but new dirt, anyways, and
Right.
it's the
Yeah.
richest dirt you'll find.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, you
It,
feed that to plants and look at the gut biomes of fish.
yeah.
That's what's in there.
That's it. It is what is enriching the tank.
Yes, indeed.
So you don't want to get rid of it particularly, but it does get to the point where every time you go there and do something, it turns it cloudy. Of course, it'll clear up in an hour. I mean,
Yeah,
it precipitates out very quickly.
it does. It does. And I noticed that it actually precipitates a lot quicker when there's no filter.
Yeah, because it's not keeping the water stirred up. That's right.
Right, right. It doesn't
Not
keep
keeping the
the
water
cycle
moving.
through.
Yeah,
It
that's
lets it
right.
actually settle out.
I've got a saltwater tank that I set up from the Chesapeake Bay, from low in the bay. So it was like brackish, but almost, it was like 0.25,
Hmm.
not zero point 0.3 or 3.2 like the ocean. So it was a little less salinity. And I've added to it a little. I top it off with fresh water. I have hard water. I tap it off with hard water. But I bought a pair of Perkilla clowns the other day. I was in Petco and somebody had brought a big pair in. They were in a bottom tank and they didn't know what they had.
Yeah, I
So
don't know
I
what those are.
snagged it.
I'm
Well,
not sure what those are.
it's a breeding pair.
Hmm.
It's a mated pair. When you get two clowns that have lived together for a year or more, one of them turns into a female, a male rather. They're born female. One turns into a male, and at that point they'll begin breeding. They probably have not bred yet, but it's clearly a pair. So I'm kind of hoping I can keep going in there. We'll see. It's a really nasty looking tank because I've not been able to get any decent macroalgae to put in it. So I'm hoping this spring to get out and get something that'll make it look a lot nicer. Right now, it's just a lot of algae in it.
So
But
is
it's
that a
healthy.
regular kind of clownfish, like the regular saltwater clownfish?
Yeah,
Like,
right. These are the
okay.
dark ones. I don't know. I can't get my camera real close.
And those are in Chesapeake Bay?
No,
Oh, it's just somebody had them over near there, and you're just mimicking that biotop. I gotcha. I gotcha. Oh, looks like Father Fish is taking us on a trip. I guess we'll get a little tour here. We need your mic though, Father Fish. I don't know if you know that's on or off right now, but it's definitely off. Oh yeah, I see. All right, well, I hope he realizes that his mic has shut off there. I know it's not easy to do this because I've been through live and trying to show people stuff on live. It's never easy. And I know many of you guys, if you guys have seen my channel throughout the years, have dealt with some of these struggles too. So hopefully we get him connected here. Yeah, he's looking for it. There it is. He's almost got it. He's almost got it. Father Fish, you're so close. Well, I hope everybody's doing good in the chat. I hope you guys are all doing great. Let me see if I can get this chat to pop up for myself. Unfortunately, I do not have the chat completely here. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. Hello, everybody. And yeah, it's nice to see Father Fish's tanks there. What fish was Father talking about? He was talking about a clownfish, a saltwater fish. He
yeah,
said.
I have. I set up a saltwater tank, a brackish tank, from the bay last summer, and put some local bay fish in it, and it's become increasingly salty. So I've tried some reef fish in it, and I now just put a really nice pair of clowns, per kilo clowns in it that I picked up at Petco that somebody had brought in. So they're grown out and they're paired off. So we'll see if they survive, number one, and number two, if they spawn. They might well. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Glad to
Okay,
have you
good.
back. I tried to do some narrating there. I'm not sure if
Yeah,
you.
I heard you. I gotta quit trying to move
not
things around.
not my normal day job for that, but.
Ah, Lord.
But yeah, it's good we got together here and we can talk about things like mulm and detritus and how nature really works in the aquarium for especially new freshwater hobbyists. And you've done an awesome job as far as like bridging that connection through like getting past all the commercialism and more into the nature part and really helping people really enjoy their aquariums instead of trying to maintain something that's pretty much almost impossible for most people
Yeah,
unless just like that dedicated to like cleaning their tank.
yeah. My heart's really been for the new person. I saw it when I had my shop. People coming in just up to here with it. They've
Yeah.
been through the big box store and whatever. And we're just done and frustrated and couldn't handle it. And so I told them something very simple. And they were able to do it and make it work and take a deep breath and move forward in the hobby. You know,
Yeah, I almost think it's better to start off this way than trying to start off with like all the fancy filters, trying to do
yeah,
CO2.
exactly.
A lot of
Right.
people want to jump into CO2 and plants and just make that real nice tank right away, which some do, but it takes them a lot of studious homework to get to that point to really tune in their tanks.
Yeah, and a lot of failure in the process. I mean, you got to be willing to put up with a lot of failure. And
Right,
with this system, you don't fail. It
right,
it, it isn't fancy, but you don't fail.
right.
You know,
At
you can
least,
get it.
yeah, nature has some guards for herself that
Yeah,
helps us from
exactly. That's
failing.
exactly right.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what's really been lost is a sense of the resilience of nature. That nature will always win, will always have the victory. No
Oh, yeah.
matter how much you beat it down, it's going to come back and be stronger.
That's for sure.
And
If
we
there's a will, there's a way, especially for nature. I've seen like tomato plants growing in the cracks of sidewalks in the middle of the city, you know.
right,
It's
right,
amazing where it finds its ways.
yeah,
Kind of like how algae always finds a way to get into a tank, you know.
amazing, is it?
Yeah,
One
yeah.
one
Just
one
essence.
windblown cell.
Yeah, yeah. It's in the air. It's all around us. We're breathing it in. It's wild.
Yeah, yeah. You know, that's the thing about microbiota, all of the paramecium and daphne and all that stuff. They're they're all over the globe.
Yeah,
They're international travelers.
indeed, indeed.
Wherever there's environment anywhere on Earth that's suitable for them, they're living in it.
Hmm. And then that's why, like I tell people, the breeders, people who like to breed fish, algae is the most universal plant out there. You know,
Right.
that plant is pretty much the same all over, especially string hair algae. Like, of course,
Yeah.
it's got some differences, like here and there, but for the most part, algae is pretty much the same all around the world.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. People say I can't grow plants. My tanks are full of algae, as though algae was not a plant.
Right,
So they're
right,
growing plants. They just don't particularly like that species of plant.
right. Which, what you do in a garden if you don't like a species of plant, like weeds or something, what do? You weed it out.
You rip it
So
out and put
just
something
weed
else
out
in.
the algae over time, and then your
Right.
plants will grow over, and then you'll be in a good scenario with your aquarium.
You add more plants typically.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Because
usually it's because you don't have enough plants.
right, exactly. And that algae is feeding off that excess of waste that would have done who knows what to the water if it didn't exist. And
Well,
after it
exactly. And
stuff up, plants
that's
will.
right. And that's the key. When you have plants and fish in an aquarium that has enough substrate to provide nutrition, then you've got the potential for an effectively balanced aquarium. That means everything supports and feeds on everything else. With that kind of a system, that's what a natural system is.
Yeah,
People
exactly.
are still insisting to me, oh, there's nothing natural about an aquarium. Well, the truth is, there's nothing unnatural about it until you start dumping chemicals into it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, no, the only what we're keeping her is essentially a fancy mud puddle
Right.
in a box.
Exactly.
Like
That's
this
right.
could be on the
You know,
side of the road with some plants growing in it and a few fish swimming around. It's the same thing, just sliced from nature and put
yeah,
into a
right.
box.
If you see a tub or a bucket or something sitting out in the field that's been there for months and it's full of water and sludge, is that not natural?
Right, right. It's very natural. And this is how fish like it.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Eric Bodrock.
Who?
Eric Bodrock,
I don't think so.
uh, All Oddball Aquatics. So he lives in Pennsylvania. Him and Regina Spotty live together. And
Ah,
I've done some tours of their place. They go to like
okay.
Peru, go collecting. They do all kinds of
Oh
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know
Hardcore
who
in the
you mean.
hobby.
Right.
Yeah, raise a lot of Corydoras. Well, he told me one time to be the fish,
I like it.
and
Yeah,
that's what snowballed a lot of it. That and keeping stuff outside. So I was
right.
doing outdoor tubbing, learning how nature really worked outdoors, and then brought it inside. But be the fish is what really rang with me
Yeah, yeah,
hardcore. It really comes to trying to keep your fish in the right environment, in the right natural aquarium, or something similar. They don't all have to be the same, because that's the beauty part about aquarium keeping is you can create so many ecosystems that you can do it to your own flavor. So it's almost a art, and this is like our media.
right, right.
You
That's really what's critical. A person starting out, it's like learning how to draw. You know, you don't start out making a Picasso.
right.
You start out simple. You start out with the skill set you have, and
Hmm.
you build on that. And all I'm doing is trying to provide the mechanics for a very limited skill set. So if you
Yes.
do this, which is easy to do, you're not going to fail. It'll be able to keep fish alive and keep plants growing. And then as you live with it and learn to understand it, you can tweak it and develop it and so forth. I mean, clearly there are fish. There are fish that require very unique water conditions. We
Hmm.
tend in the hobby not to keep many of those fish for that very reason. Most of the fish we keep are able to live in virtually any water condition.
Yeah.
I I give you the green sailfin molly, which is ostensibly a brackish water fish. I have found them in living in Florida in water that measures 5.0 pH. Soft acid water, and they're not only living in it, they're thriving, growing, having babies, maturing in it. So these are fish that can live in a very wide range of conditions. That's typically what we keep.
Yeah.
That's all the live bearers, most of the cichlids, most of the tetras, on and on. The fish that we get in a pet shop are fish that are used to living in everything from 5.8 to 8.5 pH. They can live in a wide range of water. Now you can't take them out of one and throw them in the other, particularly if you're going down. If you
Yeah.
take fish out of 8.0 and put them in 6.5, it's going to kill them
Hmm.
because their bodies are not prepared for that change in osmotic pressure, and the fluid in their cells will expand and burst the cell wall. It'll kill them. But you can go the other way. You can go from soft acid water to hard alkaline water, and it won't hurt them.
Yeah.
They'll do just fine. They can compress. They just can't expand. But if you do it slowly over a period of not just minutes and hours, but days. It takes days to genuinely acclimate a fish from 8.0 to 6.0. You should not try to do it in a matter of hours.
Yeah,
No.
I completely agree on that. And another thing too with that acid water is you don't have a lot of bacterials and fungals living in that either.
That's right.
But if you throw them to harder water and their immunity isn't used to that, that's another thing that can cause problems from going from one extreme to the other without taking that time to transition it through
Yeah,
the.
you take some of the fish like some of the licorice gouramis or the other not Madagascar, Borneo gouramis. They can't handle it.
Yeah.
Now, what's happened over the last 4 or 5 years is that people have acclimated these fish up into harder, more alkaline water, have them breeding, and they're now living successfully in 7.0 plus water. They're
Yeah.
living in 7.5, pushing 8.0 water. that fish that out of the wild could not live in 7.0 water are now thriving in it.
So you want to know something that really grinds my gears?
But
pH.
oh, I know, I know,
Why is that
I
taught
know.
so much to everybody so hardcore? When
Same
it's
with nitrates. It's the
a
same
huge goose
story.
chase.
Yeah,
Huge goose chase because it also reads hydrogen molecules. So whenever you're doing water changes, of course you're going to get high spikes of hydrogen molecules. Same with if you got an airline, you're going to get higher
right,
readings
right.
of hydrogen. But if you're running CO2, you'll get lower because that CO2 is outgassing other hydrogen.
Well,
So
it's like
not
measuring.
really telling you
Right.
your acidity
Yeah.
or alkalinity. I
Right.
like to go off TDS myself because anything 200 and above is considered alkaline. Anything under is considered acidic. But pH, that gets new hobbyists in trouble more than anything. And they'll try to buffer it here and there, and they're actually fighting gas bubbles.
Right.
It's wild.
Right.
And it's what fish stores teach and preach so much. It's one of the hardest things that I've found being in the position I am with these natural aquariums and figuring things out is when I talk about it, a lot of people they kind of like veer off the other way because pH is preached so much, and that's what they really go off of. And
Yeah.
if
Well,
they just
I measure my pH when I move to a new area, just out of curiosity to see what it is, and it's always 7.5 to 8.0. I've yet to live in a place that has soft acid water.
have you ever tried TDS meter?
Oh yeah, all the yeah. I've
Yeah,
used them. Well, I use them in the shop all the time, um, because I was using the wastewater from my RO system to top off all my freshwater systems. So I was putting very hard water back in the tanks.
yeah. pH is good as far as like it'll still kind of give you an idea if it's alkalitic or acidic because of the hydrogen, but at the same time, so well, I don't even. Where was I going with that? Oh shoot, I don't know now. It'll come back. It'll come to me.
Yeah, it's the same problem with nitrates.
Yeah,
People get all bent about nitrates. And nitrates, which are a function of ammonia, is a nutrition.
yeah.
It's a nutrient.
It's a good
It,
you have it,
it is what feeds plants
and the beneficial bacteria.
and the beneficial bacteria. That's
Yeah.
right.
So I actually,
Yeah,
being a plant keeper, aquascapers as well. People who are really growing plants, they actually dose nitrates into their tanks.
right. That's
So
exactly right.
maybe when you're doing that, yeah, maybe you want to test it, make sure you're not throwing too many in there, but and get an idea of what is best balance for your plant's fertilizer. But yeah, I mean, I dose that stuff in there. A lot of people are hardcore on testing nitrates. I've never tested nitrates.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
I did at one point, just mostly out of curiosity, in my shop because I had a lot of tanks that had not had water changes literally for years. And I found that the nitrates were pretty high, and the hardness, for that matter, was pretty high.
Hmm.
But it was not affecting the plants or the fish.
Yeah. I have noticed some fish do like some water changes, especially when you're growing them out from babies.
I think all baby fish like it because it takes the pressure off the growth hormone.
Yeah.
They're in a growing mode. They have to eat every minute of every day when they're first born because they have no reserves.
Hmm.
If they don't eat, they die. I mean, fish like these clowns I've got here, if they don't eat in the first hour, they die. Once they hatch, they're depleted of all nutrients. They have no reserves. The yolk is gone. They have to have food in front of their nose where they can see it and open their mouth to be able to eat it,
Right.
or they don't survive. So they have to live in a soup kind of nutrient
Mm.
environment in order to be able to feed.
Yeah. Yeah. So they can just pick all day through the natural food web within their natural tank.
Yeah, and for many, they're so tiny that that simply means when they open their mouth, they've got to have food going in it.
Yeah.
And many of them are, well, I guess they're born with eyes. I'm not sure how well they see,
It's
but
actually kind of like, as far as a lot of the fish I breed out, it's kind of wild how smart some of the baby fish are. Like, they do have natural instincts. Oh, there's something above me, or there's something coming towards me. I
yeah,
got to
right,
escape or
right,
go here. You can see them picking at little things, even like the smallest hair thread rainbow fish babies or tetra
right.
babies.
Well, killies the best example of that.
Yeah, they come out real smart, but they come out fairly big too.
Yeah, but they're also coming out again with no reserves.
Yeah.
If they don't eat immediately, they don't survive.
Yeah, and they go straight to it. It's like
Yeah,
they know what to do. Like,
right, right,
hungry, feed me.
right, right.
Eat and go.
So the best food then for baby fish is food that is in the water column.
Oh yeah,
That
the dirtiest tanks.
that means live food.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep. I mean, you could do green water if you got baby fish that'll eat green water, and I guess some will. Many won't, but green water would be adequate food for some fish. For most, they need paramecium. Paramecium is probably the best culture. I used to work at a goldfish farm up in Maryland, um, up around Catoctin near Camp David. Beautiful, beautiful farm. And the farmer raised paramecium. He raised it as a culture, and that's what all of his baby goldfish got the minute they hatched. He put them in or put in with them a very rich paramecium culture. It's comparable to microworm culture, which is another culture that stays in the water column pretty well. It will sink, but it's slow to sink, and so baby fish can they can find it and get to it.
Yeah, that's why I like my no filter aquariums that I keep in my fish room, because that paramecium and infusoria and stuff like that can grow natural in my aquariums as long as there's nothing in there to eat them up.
Right,
With
right.
a filter, the filter will just clean them out of house.
That's really true. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do maybe a bubbler, but even that, I found with Daphne, they don't like bubblers.
No, no, they don't. Just turn everything off for the live food. If you want to grow a live food, no filter on anything.
Yeah,
That's why
just
some
let it
people
go.
see my fish room and some of my fish tanks and be like, "Oh, there's just what's going on there? It's so gross." But for like a breeder, it's perfect.
It's
And
exactly right. Yeah,
people judge on it a lot. Like, I got so many pretty tanks, but it's crazy how some will just like attract to the dirty tanks.
that's what it
Some
is.
it's interesting to them, some that they'll just judge. But I get that helps weed out the people I like to hang out with on my
Yeah,
channel.
right. Exactly. If you get on a farm, and particularly in Florida, because virtually all of the farms in Florida are mud ponds.
Yeah.
They don't raise fish in vats. They raise them in dirt ponds, and they will throw when they're culturing a pond. First thing they'll do is kill everything off, and then they'll throw barley in there, which will build this enormous population of paramecium culture. Then they put their babies in that. That water is so cloudy you can't see through it, and it's muddy and dirty and loaded with all this microbiota, and that's what the babies thrive on. That's what gets them going from day one.
Yeah. I need some of those.
You need ponds, yeah, dirt ponds.
Yeah.
You could do it
That
though. You've got ponds up there.
Yeah, I've been working. I just built 2 little ponds.
Did you?
Yeah, it's a
Nice.
start.
That need to get a backhoe.
Yeah, I thought about that, but I got that Fins and Fury thing in August. I gotta get ready for that. So
How
that's
deep?
my way to
How
work out.
how deep is your clay bed? Do you know?
You know, the first pond I built, actually both ponds I built, I hit clay. So I think it definitely varies in areas, and it definitely comes in deposits.
Yeah, that's where you stop, right? When as soon as you hit clay, you stop.
Oh, I just brought out the pickaxe because I had to go so far because my liner was so big. I gotta get it every gallon I can.
Oh, you put a liner in.
I did because it's still sand. It's still above water level.
Well, yeah, but that's where the groundwater is traveling. It's traveling on top of that clay.
Right. It sits on it.
So it may be 5, 6 feet down,
Okay.
before you hit water, which means if that your clay bed needs to be 8 to 10 feet below the surface. If you're at that level, then you've got 2, 3 feet of water sitting on top of the clay,
Mm.
moving through it.
Yeah.
That's basically what the Everglades is.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah.
the
No
Everglades
sand
extends all the
there.
way up to where you live.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize it was sitting on that much clay down there.
It's not infinite. I mean, you can go through it, and if you do, farmers who go through it drain the pond. They can't keep water in it
Right.
because it just goes right through.
Kind of destroys it. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have that clay as a barrier, and again, that's the surface water. That's where all the running water, the rainwater, the creeks, and so forth are sitting on top of that clay.
Yeah, having that liner just makes me feel better as far as like it's not just going to disappear one day.
Well, it also allows you to fill it fuller. You can get the water level up closer to the surface.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And I
mean,
just threw it right back in for my substrate.
you look at a lot of these ponds in the farms, the water level is 5, 6 feet down below the surface. So you got a grade going down to the water before you even get to water, and then 2 or 3 feet of water before it hits the clay. It's not at all a sophisticated way to keep fish, but
Yeah.
it is what has been done in Florida since the 40s, and it
Um,
started in the 40s when they discovered in that Ruskin area. They discovered a perfect depth clay bed that they could dig down to that would get into water and allow them to be able to maintain a couple of feet of water in a pond year round. And that's what they grew fish in.
it's wild.
It's really, if you think about it, it's no more sophisticated than what the Cambodians and the Vietnamese and the Thai people do on their farms. They
Yeah.
dig a hole in the middle of the farm, everything runs into it, and that's where they grow out their Daphne and raise many of their fish.
And that's just proof that, natural aquariums taking it back to the basics.
Exactly, exactly,
I mean, that's
exactly
essentially
right.
what we're doing here.
Right. You know,
And
you look at somebody like MD, who is an artist
he's an artist.
who maintains spectacularly beautiful tanks. And he's gradually moving into a more natural kind of substrate. He's doing it mostly because he's realizing he doesn't want to be breaking those tanks down and setting them up again every year.
Right.
So he's trying to create something that's going to last a while.
So that's the thing too. You notice like guys like us, we started off more with filters and going down that route and then finally lead into nature's aquariums. So
Yeah,
we're trying to help people with starting with the nature aquariums and maybe working into filters if they want to, to get a different grasp of it. And
Right,
that's the
right.
good thing about the hobby is there is a lot of ways to do it.
All right, let's look at some comments here.
Yeah.
Ruben wants to know how long he can keep the substrate before he has to use it. Well, it's dirt, Ruben. How long can you keep dirt?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You know, put it
All the new.
put it in a bucket and set it in the shed.
Yeah. No, it'll last forever.
Right.
23 years at least behind you.
Well, yeah, there isn't anything much alive in it. I mean, there are microbes in it, and I guess it would dry out. But if you wet it again, it'll come back. It's not
Yeah.
like you're really losing anything. I don't put anything wet in. Let me back up a little. I started doing the supplement. Started doing this way back at the beginning. I think the first video I ever did, which you saw and you called out, was I was mixing all of these elements together. And that was the supplement. That's what I put in the dirt mix. And then I began putting it together to sell it. And then people said, can you just mix up the whole thing? So I started doing that and I mixed the supplement in with it. And I've now got it to a place where I've got bags that have the right amount in that you can use for a 20 or a 55. A 20 being essentially half a 55. Actually, 20 tall is. The 20 tall is half a 55.
Mm-hmm.
But it all it is soil. There's nothing alive in that per se. There's organic material like um, compost, but the only microbes that are in there incidentally. They're not anything I put into it. All of that comes into the tank as you put it together.
Yeah. It's crazy how all that just comes about, when it comes to cycling a tank and getting that maturity, the essence of nature is just within the air and how it creates starts with diatoms and other bacterias, and next thing you know you throw a plant in there and other little things hitchhike like cyclops and sea shrimp.
Right. I put a video out today about it was called Do Nothing.
Yeah.
And what it's about is a contract between you and nature in which you provide the basics and nature does everything that needs to be done with it.
Yeah, I'd say that's brilliant.
And if you trust that process and not try to interfere with it, nature will work wonders in your aquarium.
Indeed, that's what I try to teach people in my talks, to quit trying to pinpoint things, quit trying to mess with it too much. And
Right.
with having more than one aquarium, it's a lot easier to set it and forget it and let nature do it.
Yeah, exactly.
But some guys, they only got one aquarium, and
You want to get in there and mess with it. I know.
which, yeah, I don't blame them. I'd be wanting to do the
I
same
know.
thing. So you can still mess around, move plants around here and there, but you don't have to go like changing the water types and trying to buffer this and buffer
Yeah,
that.
throwing chemicals in it and trying to save it and trying to do this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah. So
You just create chaos when you do that.
right. So if you did want to mess with your tank because you only got one tank or something, or you're just tired of what it looks like, you keep it the same way, nice and natural, move your plants around, and then do your water changes after you move around. Do
Right.
like 50% water change, let it settle, and you'll be back to where you started for a week, and it would look different for you.
Happy to sell you more plants. Right. Henry Figueroa says we need lots of aquariums. Yeah, that really is true. Anybody who loves their aquarium needs a second aquarium.
At least.
And then once you get two, you need another one. There's always room for one more aquarium.
Always.
I mean, you can put it on the floor. It doesn't matter where you put it.
Right? I just started sticking my spares outside.
Oh yeah, that's ideal. Well,
Yeah.
you're far enough south now; you can get away with it year round.
Yeah. I did used to do year round up north though too.
Yeah, what'd you have in those ponds?
Heaters.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
So
done
for the
that.
winter up there, I had to have heaters, but I had guppies, rainbows, angels, tetras, all kinds of stuff.
Yep,
And the
yep.
colors that you get when you put a fish out in nature in that natural sunlight, oh my God, the angel fish would just be more colorful than you
I
could.
know it's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, that's really true.
Yeah. Same with the rainbows; they would just shine like crazy. But that's
Oh,
what taught me a lot of keeping how I keep my fish room, where it's just nature, no filters, just like I don't use any products. The only thing I really buy and use for my fish room is the food.
you also don't do a whole lot with substrate.
I do actually was saying I don't go with the deep bed. So I
Right.
used to talk about how we would bonsai our plants often by having many of us would only do 2-3 inches of substrate, which deeper substrate is better for your plants because they can't get heck of root systems. But the thing is, you take up so much space in the aquarium too. You lose water volume and space for your fish to swim. So I don't mind bonsaiing my plants, but I do use just the sand out of my yard.
Which has a lot of nutrient in it.
Yeah, especially that top sand. But even
Yeah,
the deeper sand that doesn't have a lot, well, I don't know. I can't really say that because there's a lot of iron and stuff around here. You can
right.
taste water and plenty of calcium and whatever.
Yeah, and all those nutrients have been sifting down in it for hundreds of years. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really a rich compost. It may look like sand, but it's got an awful lot of enrichment in it, nutrients in it.
Yeah, some of it. Like we tried to garden in just the regular sand. It didn't work too well. Like we had to add nutrients to it. So I think even if the sand isn't nutrient rich, like even your play sand, I've grown plants like crazy in plants play sand where there was no nutrients. Like the nutrients get provided by either the shrimp, snails, fish, waste, food,
Yeah,
everything
it
else.
builds up. Right.
Yeah, yeah. You don't necessarily, I don't know. It's crazy how the plants really pull nutrients or whatever they pull through. Well, a lot of them grow off of photosynthesis too. So just that light exchange is enough to grow a lot of plants without, say, all the nutrients and fertilizers. I actually
Well, they're
quit.
pulling it out of the water too.
Yeah, I used to fertilize a lot of my fish tanks, and I learned that like I'll grow more algae doing that stuff because I'll end up putting too many nutrients in and
Yep.
then just be fighting that more than if I would just keep it natural and let it be stable and do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then with like plants, say if I want them to eat nutrients a lot, water changes are good because that's when they'll collect a lot of the oxygen with their leaves and do the pearling thing and all that. And they'll grow faster and eat more of those nutrients. But say if I can't keep up with maintaining my plants, I'll do less water changes because then your plants will go into more of a homeostasis or a slower growth that makes it more manageable.
Right.
Because some of these plants, they can grow over your tank in with a week, or two.
Well, particularly the stem plants.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and then you get a stand of Vallisneria going in there or sword plants, and they put down a root system That's
Yo,
amazing.
tank busters. Yeah, the red tiger lotus. You ever catch
Oh
one?
yeah, yeah. I got
Those,
them all over the place. Yeah,
yeah, those go bananas too. I
yeah,
had
right.
240 gallon that just took over. It was wild.
And the bulb plants, the Eponogetans, can
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
They can just go wild.
So I got sand from a couple of my wet areas on my property.
Ah,
I had gotten some native Apontageton or Apontageton like plants that popped up into my aquariums, and
huh.
they just like took over. It was really wild, really cool looking plant too. It has a nice little pattern, kind of see through leaves, and real curly and contorted.
There are a lot of neat plants in Florida.
Yeah, there's a one spot in my pond. So we got 5 ponds on the property as well,
Wow.
and there's one space over that's kind of like a half pond. So we got like 5.5 or something. But anyways, it's full of red plants,
Huh.
Luigi, I'm guessing, and it's got
Right.
grasses and all kinds of stuff. So I actually took a slice of that and stuck it in a tank and made an aquascape out of it. I'll probably have the videos for those next week.
Nice.
But it was pretty neat how I could just take a little slice from out there and just instantly make a full on natural ecosystem. A fancy
Right.
puddle in a glass box.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it is neat, the plants and stuff down here.
So, what are you working on now that you're fired up about? That's exciting. And
So I had spent the last almost 2 years rebuilding from moving from my house up in Indiana where I had hundreds of aquariums. You know the story.
right, right.
And that was like pretty much doing a full header off of like the top of the mountain and just saying I'm gonna rebuild because a lot of people were watching me then, and then I had to start from scratch. And so that was a real mission to get to that, and now I'm finally done with all that building.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting all excited about all kinds of stuff because I'm able to focus more into the aquariums. Like last week I went to South Florida for a rare fish auction and got a bunch of fish that I didn't expect to get. And also saw a cool fish store down there that was really hobbyist driven. Really cool to meet that guy.
Where was that?
It was in Coral Springs. It was called Nature Aquariums.
Oh, yeah. Great,
Henry.
great shop.
Yeah. Oh, it was a real nice shop. I so I haven't been to a fish store in a long time, unless it was like a Petco to go get tanks. Because when you get like so far down the rabbit hole and you get like most of your fish from clubs and stuff like that, and get into the rare stuff like going to big box stores and stuff like that, it's a little lackluster.
Yeah, right.
And so when I walked in there, I was just kind of thinking, I wasn't thinking about much. I'm just, judging the fish store for what it is. And then I started seeing like what was really around me, and my eyes just started slowly waking up to like, oh wow, this is a cool place I'm in.
Yeah, yeah.
So I ended up going back the next day and getting some fish off of him. He was gracious enough to let me do a tour. I actually dropped that video today of that fish store. I kept wanting to call it a fish room tour because I got so used to doing that. It was a bit just to change my mind to call it a fish store tour.
Yeah, right. What'd you
'Cause I
get?
don't usually do those at all.
What'd you get? What kind of fish?
Well, I don't know if I want to say yet because that's going
Oh,
to be tomorrow's video. So I got
fair.
4 boxes of rare fish,
Oh my.
4 big boxes. So tomorrow's
Wow.
video will be showing.
Wow.
And
Well, I
I'm
look forward to that. That'll be fun.
yeah, yeah. But and then next week will be the AGA, the Aquatic Gardeners Association's convention.
Yep.
So one of my biggest steps was getting more rare fish for the fish room and got that done. So now I need to get some more plants for the fish room. So I'm excited
Right.
to go there. And what's exciting about that and going to these kind of clubs and conventions and things like that is you never know what you're going to find there or what
That's
you're
true.
going to come home
Yep.
with. So I don't have any expectations, but that's the best part about it because I know something will come.
That's true. I'm
Yeah.
going up, I guess, in 2 weeks to uh, a club in Pennsylvania, in New Delaware, Pennsylvania, and looking forward to that. And mostly looking forward not just to meeting the folks, because there are a lot of really, really good fish keepers in this whole region, Pennsylvania, Jersey, New York, Delaware, Maryland, D.C., even down into Virginia. A lot of really good fish people.
Mm.
But I know the auction is going to be a kick. So I'm excited about that as well.
Oh, you think you might come home with something?
I know I will.
Oh, nice, nice. So what do you give your talk on there?
Deep substrate, natural systems. I
Okay.
just do the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
It's sort of a broken record, but a lot of people haven't heard it yet. So I'm
Exactly.
doing it.
That's
You
the thing.
know,
That's the thing. You almost got to be a broken record. That's kind of my hardest part, is being that broken record. But I learned that, you're talking to different people all the time, and you kind of got,
right, right,
yeah.
right.
But yeah, no, you've done an awesome job at like getting people to learn like what I have been doing on YouTube, because so many people or other channels is such a clean tank, or you got to do it like this and do it like that. Like, and you're saying empty fish tanks. He does amazing aquariums, but it's so hard to replicate that stuff unless you're really putting your time
Yeah,
in.
I can't do it. I can't do what he's doing. I
Yeah,
don't have the artistic skill.
I could do it with maybe a few tanks, but definitely not hundreds of tanks.
Yeah, well, there is that.
Right,
That's true.
right.
Yeah.
But there's some people who like to keep lots of tanks. I would rather keep natural tanks. So I think it's so good that YouTube has us now, to where I know there's a lot of other YouTubers coming out doing them too. I've been seeing a lot.
More and more. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool. But that all perpetuates the hobby, and that
You bet.
all helps people as long as they're not steering them to like chemicals and buy this and buy that, and which isn't always bad, because I guess once again, that's the fun part about aquariums. You can do a lot with them. And there is some neat products that do, like filters, that do
Yeah.
help water clarity and stuff like that.
Well, there are a couple of manufacturers that have got their heads on straight, more or less,
Yeah.
that do really decent quality stuff.
Now the thing about a filter, though, I've learned that when I use filters, it's almost best to keep them as dirty as possible.
Right. Oh, I agree absolutely. If you're
Because
gonna hang on the somebody asked me the other day, how often do I clean my hang on the back? And I said, well, check it after a year and see what it looks like. If maybe it'll let it go another year. But I used to do that right from the beginning. I would let them go because I found I could that they would grow plants. I'd get plants growing in them eventually because it built up such a biomass that it would be nutrition. It would be what's the word I want? Nutritious
yeah,
for plant growth.
indeed, because all that beneficial bacteria and everything, it's breaking down, the plants feed off of it. And the thing is, when you get that foam or whatever that's holding that beneficial bacteria in that filter, the more dense it is, the
Right.
less stuff that can get through it. So it almost acts as like a finer micron filter.
That's what's really interesting about the undergravel filter system.
Hmm.
When you get that after about a year, if you've got a couple inches of gravel on top of it, it'll begin forming channels. And the channels will be where the water is still able to get through, that hadn't been blocked up by the waste that's being pulled down in it. And eventually it gets to the point where it's mostly solid with very little bit of channel going through. that's when it becomes most valuable. And
Mhm.
that's where the typical hobbyist breaks it down and starts
Mhm.
over again.
Yeah, yeah, right when it's getting to be the best, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
A hundred,
Exactly.
100% agree with that because all that beneficial bacteria that is in there to help purify that water, and it starts becoming thicker and thicker like a new dirt, and
Right.
becomes alive, and it's a lot of your tank being really alive, biologically sound. So when you do your water changes, your water's a lot it's a lot easier to get that water to be biologically sound after you add it into your aquarium. So that's why if you do water changes, it's best to do smaller ones.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I recommend 10%, no more than 10%.
Yeah,
And if you want to do it every day, do it every day. But
yeah,
don't do more than 10%.
yeah. Because it's just essentially like making it rain.
Right,
So let's say
exactly.
you're
Yeah.
trying to do some crazy flood season, but if you do a crazy flood season, you better be able to have enough beneficial bacteria to bounce off of washing all that away,
Yeah, exactly.
or it could cause
Exactly.
problems. Or no water changes, more like drought season.
Right,
Yeah.
right. How long you been doing fish?
So I've been catching stuff out of creeks since I was a kid,
Right.
but so my dad had a 55-gallon, and we would throw minnows, all kinds of catfish, snakes, whatever we could find in there. And
Right.
we did that for years and years. But it wasn't until I was in high school that I actually got a 29-gallon and had some rummy nose in it. And I don't know how I kept them rummy nose so easy back then. Probably because I didn't really mess with it.
Right.
And my well water, yeah. But, you know, I always thought it was kind of neat having that tank in there. And then I went to college, and I went through college without a tank, and then finally graduated through ITT Tech with a degree in design.
Huh.
And um, I went to a fish store one day because I was like, I'm going to get a 29-gallon again and just mess around with it. I wanted to build like this 2-tier aquarium where it had like this second tier where fish can swim underneath the bottom part.
Oh, right.
And I built it, but of course, none of the fish ever swam into that bottom part.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So I was doing this kind of like, I don't know, cheesy kind of fun kind of like scape for just starting off. And then I was into the fish store one day, turn around, they had a plant section.
Huh.
That's when it was game over for me. I saw that
Really?
you could put plants. I was like, what is this? Like, what? You could put plants in these aquariums?
Huh.
And then I got online and I started getting into the forums like plantedtank.net, Aquatic Plant Central, all that. And I went down a rabbit hole. I started getting CO2. I had a buddy that was just right down the road who was hardcore in it. That's when the shrimp started coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And I was
That's
collecting,
20 years ago.
yeah, I was collecting plants from around the world. I was just, oh my God, it was a crazy time. When I learned that you could do that, that's when my MTS really started kicking in.
Huh.
Then I eventually got up to like 5 tanks, and the girl I was with, I think she kind of saw where that was going. So we kind of parted ways.
Huh.
But I did keep my fish tanks. I was lugging them around with me here and there, trying to get my feet settled again. I even left a couple of them at other girls' houses, and they would take care of them for me. And eventually got into a second bedroom apartment by myself, and then made a little mini fish room out of the second bedroom. And that's when I was doing more of the fish and plants and stuff. And then after that, Facebook started happening, got real big on there. And then Facebook thought I was a bot. And Facebook kicked me off because I was answering too many questions and commenting, which was crazy to think that, like,
Really?
and they thought I was a bot and they had no customer service. So I couldn't be like, hey, look, I'm trying to help these people out because so many things that I was doing at the time was completely against the grain.
Right.
And especially with shrimp.
Huh.
And so that kind of forced me to YouTube because I was like, okay, if I can't do Facebook or talk to people there, and I was spending all day on Facebook Messenger. That's why it's so hard to get me on Facebook Messenger anymore, just because it was
Yeah, I
such
don't do it.
back
Yeah.
then. There would be so many messages. And I was like, okay, well, how can I get this information out to where like I'm answering somebody's question and then just make it a whole video where I could just send it to them, like a copy and paste. So then I got onto YouTube. People started mentioning that, and then just started grinding out YouTube videos, and it all became a thing. And one
Yeah,
like,
it's interesting, isn't it? I had a guy who helped me. He wanted me to start in it was like 2013. And he came over and made some videos for me. We got a channel. It did not make a bit of sense to me. It took 5 years for me to realize what it was and what I could do with it. And then I got excited about it. And that was like 2018, 2019. I think the fall of 2018, I think, is when I got serious about it. And I lost the first channel. Never could get back to it. I could bring it up, but I lost um, the password to it.
oh yeah,
Couldn't get back on it. So I just copied everything and put it into a tab on my current channel.
Okay.
Take a look at they're dumb videos, but a lot of them are dumb videos. I did a lot of dumb videos early on.
Well, oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you look back at the old videos. There's a whole different because it was a lot of people were just beginning with YouTube. Now
and it was just fun. It was just talking to friends, making friends, talking to friends, goofing off.
Yeah.
I did. I think my second year in, I did a live stream, an hour to 2 hour live stream every day for a year.
Wow.
7 days a week for a year.
Wow.
It was amazing. It's probably the best and the worst thing I ever did. It did not help the channel a bit, but it helped me a whole lot.
Oh, you learned so much from doing that.
Yeah, it got me used to talking to people and filling up time slots and getting being able to relate to people because I had people coming up all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
I do the Friday Night Live Q&As.
That's such a great program.
Yeah, for doing that.
Great,
For doing that for as long as I have, the things I have learned from the community, like, yeah, they're asking me questions, but at the same time, there's so much I've learned from that. It's wild.
Henry Figaro.
Oh, good old Henry.
He says, I started 3 years ago. Now I have almost 130 aquariums.
Yeah.
He's on his way, isn't he?
He is. He's deep into it. He's got that MTS for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Stan Pittman went from 0 to 17 since July. That's pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, it takes time to build up too. A lot of people don't.
It does.
Especially with new beginners.
I'm trying to get a fish room together now, and I'm doing it with bigger tanks, which I've never done that before. I went to Petco yesterday, and I bought a 75, and I bought a 30 long, a 4 foot wide, 18 inches back, short, 30 long. I never had a tank like that.
Yeah, those are cool. I love them.
So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And a 55. And I got to go back. They had a cube I want to get about I guess nearly a 24-inch cube. So I'm going to get that one. They're on the half price sale right now. And if you buy their membership, you get another 15% off. So
yeah,
I'm buying these tanks for $100 that are normally $200 to $300.
Mm-hmm.
Wholesale, no less.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You can't buy them at wholesale for what they're selling for.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's how I built my whole fish room, was from that, having that vital care program and going to those Petco cells.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's so much nicer when you can do big tanks like you're doing. I wish I had more space for bigger tanks, but
Well, I'm going to wind up with about a dozen tanks in that room.
nice, nice.
But the smallest will be about 30, I think, but not like a 2930. You
Yeah.
know, a crazier size thing. I was talking with a couple who own super cichlids in Dover, Delaware. They bought all of Stendekeri's discus when Stendekeri went out of business in Germany, and they had them all shipped over.
Hmm.
They've got hundreds of like this
Yeah.
massive
Oh,
discus. So they're trying to set up a breeding operation for them.
hmm.
They've got about 2 to 3,000 square feet of warehouse space, and they're just buying tanks everywhere they can. I called him up looking for tanks, and he put me on to Petco, which is what he's been doing. They're interesting people. He's his background is in the military. He was um, what are they called? It's a master sergeant level, uh, responsible for product, getting buying things, marketing, bringing things in, and providing them to whoever needs them. There's a term they have for that, but he knows how to buy and sell is the issue, and he's put together a really wonderful shop, and now this warehouse operation. But mainly, what he's doing is buying and selling box lot aquatic products off of Amazon. He'll buy like cases of stuff and market them, and that's better than 50% of his income.
Yeah.
Just selling all these dry goods.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to start a business in this hobby too.
They really are. Well,
Yeah.
what I'm doing with plants, it just has me. It's frankly got my mind boggled because I have not promoted it other than on my YouTube. I'm doing 200 plus orders a week.
It's
It just
busy.
it's insane. I've
Yeah.
got 4 people working for me. They're half time, but if this thing keeps growing, they're going to go to full time.
Nice.
It's just amazing.
Creating jobs.
Yeah, creating jobs. So that's what's fun
Yeah.
is being able to get people excited and provide because I'm paying more than it's not an entry level job here. That requires a fair amount of sophistication to be able to know what you're doing. It's a lot of detail involved.
Then you get what you pay for too, right?
God knows. Yeah, you really do. Get people excited because they're making serious money.
Right.
They'll go the extra mile to make it work.
Well, that's good. That's good. I think we do like 25 orders about right now. Well, we do
On
a
what? Mostly plants or what?
fish, shrimp, plants,
Oh,
whatever we grow
okay.
in the fish room.
I haven't started doing fish yet. I used to do fish. I used to be on aquabid. I did that for about 5 years and did really well with it. That's back when you could get any betta for $1.25 wholesale.
Jeez. Yeah,
Now
now
you can't. You can't.
crazy how expensive they are now.
It's insane.
Wild. It's kind of good though,
Yeah, I guess. I
because
guess.
they used to treat bettas so bad because they were a dime a dozen, and now they're
Right.
worth more. People treat them a lot better.
Well, they charge a lot more for them.
Yeah, so people will take care of them.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
You're paying $40 for a betta, you're gonna pay attention to it,
yeah,
and that's not unreasonable for a really nice betta.
yeah.
I remember I used to go through. I would go up to the wholesaler, Segrist Farms. I'd go there and I would spend half a day going through their bettas. They had boxes with, they would get 10,000 bettas in at a crack. And I'd go through them, just flipping through them
See?
and pulling out the ones I wanted. I'd always come back with 50 to 100. I found one. This is like in 2004. It had four colors in it. Beyond a koi, unheard of. And I was so excited about it. I took it in and showed it to Sandy Moore, who is the director
Hmm.
at Seagrass. And we sat there talking about this fish. I put it on Aquabid. It went. Two women started bidding on it. The bidding closed in 2 days at $240.
Wow.
Imagine that. I was going to keep it and breed it. That sucker was in the mail the next day.
Jeez. That's pretty cool find.
Yeah, it
I'm
was
not sure.
amazing.
Yeah, it's like picking out koi and finding your favorite koi. And
Yeah, exactly.
same thing with
Exactly. Yeah, it's exactly right.
yeah.
There
So,
were there were no crown tails back then. You know, when the crown tail came out, that really knocked my socks off. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
yeah, those are pretty wild. Have you seen the cross rays?
Oh yeah, they're amazing. Have you seen some of the new Japanese guppies?
Maybe, I don't know.
They are crazy.
Oh yeah, what's crazy about them?
Well, the cross rays for one thing.
Oh
They've got net tails with
yeah,
the rays actually in net formation. They've got all kinds of rays coming off and
mm,
colors. It's amazing. It's astounding.
yeah.
I don't know how they do it.
I've seen some of the guppies like that with the thread fins and stuff. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Kind of torn between them though, because they kind of look like they're beat up a little
yeah. Well, uh,
bit.
used to have a doctor. What was his name? The big Killy guy was active in our club in Sarasota. He would always poke fun at my crown tail bettas. He said they were beat up. They looked like they were torn up.
Yeah,
Funny stuff.
but yeah, the crown tails don't look as like. I think it looks more like that on the guppies than it does on the bettas.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
The crown tails have got more distinct rays, so it
yeah,
looks. And some of the new, I mean the roses and double tails and half moon crescents, and oh, it's just amazing,
Did
gorgeous stuff.
now? Did you notice that having water changes for the crown tails really help keep the crown tails more in shape for a crown tail? I heard that that was big.
Yeah, well, it depends how you're keeping them. The best way I found to keep them was in jars with nothing in with them, and do weekly water changes. That kept them. It kept deterioration down. It kept them healthier and more vigorous, and they didn't get their fins torn up.
Yeah. Because
That
I know they'll kind of grow their fins back too to be more of a
to a certain extent they do.
yeah,
They can kind of grow back together, but you can always see a damaged fin.
yeah. It's
You
kind of
know, when the judges judge them, that's one of the things they look for is a
okay.
damaged fin. You get points off for
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
I
So
haven't done much with bettas in a long time. I'm really thinking I want to do it more. Um, who was it? Peplin Creek just sent me about 100 um, eggs from their salamanders.
What kind of salamander?
Oh, the axolotls.
Oh, the axolotls. Yeah, those
Yeah,
things are cool. I love those things.
yeah. So I put them in. I put them in a couple of different vats that have a lot of detritus in them.
Yeah.
This real heavy detritus, and I thought I would see how they did in that kind of environment where they would have steady food.
Yeah,
And they've
no,
now
perfect.
hatched. I see them darting around. So
Yes.
we'll see. I'm going to have to keep it up there. I just got a couple of boxes from Chris Hollum, who's out in, where is he? He's in Nevada, I think. Just sent me boxes. Oh, God. I just dropped a box of something heavy.
Oh man.
I'm still alive.
Well, that's good.
Alive and live. He sent me a box of shrimp and a box of scuds,
Okay.
which I haven't opened yet because I haven't gotten them over. I got to get them over to the warehouse to open them. I'm not going to go through that craziness. But he did send me a box. I can open this. A box of wood, manzanita, I think. Let's see what's in here.
So yeah, I've been keeping those axolotls with no filter and no.
Well, I've got a pair of them that I've had for about, I don't know, 8 or 9 months in a 15-gallon down close to the floor. I got a little gooseneck lamp on it. I turn off at night. Got a deep substrate, a sponge filter. Oh, that's interesting. This is not what I thought it was. I thought I got the box of wood. It's it's a box of
Oh.
perishable stickers. Oh well.
Why was it so heavy?
Yeah, right. Well, I was concerned about them because they hadn't been coming in. Anyway, that's
So
not
did you
what I-
get babies of those axolotls? Did those eggs hatch already?
Yeah, they have.
Oh, they did hatch? That's cool.
Yeah, they're in pretty cool water. It's down in the 50s.
Oh,
So
wow. Sure.
It took an extra couple of days to hatch, but I was looking at them this morning. They're darting around in there. So
That's
I don't know how they'll do. We'll see how they do.
Yeah, yeah.
You
No,
know,
I think good setup to put them in with that detritus because I know a lot of are just sifting through it, eating through it.
right, exactly. So
Yeah.
they're feeding naturally. There are a lot of them, so I don't expect to wind up with a large number of them. But if I wind up with a half a dozen that get to an inch, I'll be delighted, frankly.
Yeah. The more you feed them too, the more they would be less likely to predate. If you could get like some Daphnia or something with
Well, I just got some scuds that
What?
came,
Oh,
so
so the scuds will help.
yeah, I'm gonna put that in there, and I also got some shrimp, and that'll help too. So
Even though you do gotta watch the scuds because they could potentially like piggyback onto one of them things and try to eat them because they are pretty small when they're babies.
right, they are. I was wondering about that. Do scuds do that? Have you
Yeah,
ever seen them do it?
Yeah, they will if they can eat it and hunch onto it, they will.
Oh,
So that's why, yeah, I would recommend Daphnia because
right,
Daphnia grows in different stages.
right,
Like it has the larval and then it gets to adult, so you got so many different sizes of
right,
Daphnia.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there should be some Daphne in with this, so I'll have to go through it.
But once they get to a certain size, those scuds will be perfect for them. So once they
Right.
get past the Daphnia,
Get up to a half an inch or so.
yeah.
Right now they're quarter inch. They're pretty big actually. They're probably quarter inch.
Okay. So
Yeah.
they're getting size to them.
Yeah, won't
Because
take
they're
long, I
so
don't think.
slow moving and they stick to the bottom.
Yeah, the ones I saw were darting, but
Yeah,
they dart and drop. They're like a tadpole,
yeah.
you
They'll
know,
like shoot off real quick and then
and
just
then
fall down.
drop. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So
I
with
never realized how fast they really were until I tried to catch one.
the, well, I've got two albinos here that are. It's a pair. I haven't seen any eggs.
Yeah.
I've not fed them real heavily either. I was doing worms, and then I got this. We have a guy on our Discord who does all kinds of salamanders, and he recommended. Oh, he recommended this stuff.
Okay.
It's Ranjin, some soft moist pellets for salamanders. It's by Aquatic Foods. It's a real good quality food. It's got
Hmm.
a 45% protein,
Oh, it's pretty heavy.
18% fat, minimum 18. It's an 1/8 inch soft moist pellet, so it's not like a hard dry pellet.
Yeah, some of those. I hear the food can dry up the inside of fish too, so it's good to have it more moist.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how true that is, but
I don't know. It doesn't make sense, but there's no question if they're eating a hard dry food, it's going to absorb moisture inside them, and that could create impaction.
it can.
You
Can.
know, I don't like feeding dry food typically, although I've been feeding um, golden pearl, which I like real well, and I've got this. I mentioned this to you before. This Autoheim food, which is a Japanese food. This is a larger pellet. It,
Okay.
it comes very, very fine, like powder fine, finer even than this is the golden pearls fine. You can
Yeah,
get that. You can get that pretty coarse too.
Gary
That
Lang swears by that stuff for
that
rainbow
yeah,
babies.
this is from Brown Shrimp Direct.
Yeah.
It's mostly shrimp. I was talking to a biologist about it who did a lot of research with it. What they were doing was trying to get um, saltwater gobies to eat dry food.
Hmm.
They were trying to get them on golden pearls, and they found they could get about 5% of the hatch on pearls. And they began developing that 5% and turned it into a strain of clownfish that will eat dry food. So I don't know if any of the farms are using that strain of fish, but the potential exists. That's one of the big problems with growing out any of the saltwater stuff is they've got to have live food.
Yeah, real picky eaters.
Yeah,
So with the axolotls, so as we mentioned, Daphne at the scuds, when they eventually got bigger, I actually used my coal shrimp for the adults. So if you put big enough rocks in there, you don't want to put small rocks in there because the axolotls could choke on them. But if you
right.
put big enough rocks in there, the shrimp can actually colonize within that rock pile. So there is a food web of actual
Huh.
shrimp in their aquarium, and in nature, invertebrates is the majority of their gut biome.
Right.
So super healthy for them.
Right.
I know you're a big advocate of the food web.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's
Yeah,
like,
that's that a lot of people have talked about that with like some of the larger cichlids, and that's basically the fix for it is to build an environment that that their that their food source, their target can can breed in and live in.
Hmm.
You can do it with things like loaches, like a rock pile. If you have a rock pile and you've got loaches, black loaches or collie loaches, they'll inhabit that rock pile and begin spawning in there. You'll wind up with lots of babies. But there are other things that do that as well.
There's really not a lot of information on breeding loaches out there.
I bet there isn't. Not
Yeah.
many people have done it. It's incidental when it happens.
Yeah.
It's but I've known a couple of hobbyists who built rock piles
Hmm.
in a corner of their tank and put loaches in and wound up with babies. They just require a very safe place.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Big cane loaches have been on my bucket list for a long time. Now I
Neat
know
little animals too, you bet.
that like crazy, but
Yeah.
I haven't done it with the pygmy chain loaches. I did like little rock piles, but I don't think they were big enough for them. But I need to try that again with those. It's just getting the loaches out and keeping them from predating from the babies and stuff. That's also a hard part. So you got to make sure you got a food web in there, or at least feed.
Right. Right. Right.
'Cause this
Yeah, the
thing,
food webs again, that's not an easy thing to do. I mean,
no,
I get people all the time telling me, "Can I stop feeding my fish?" Because I've got a food web now. Well, they have the beginning of a food web. They've got a little bit of a food web, and if they have a few tetras in there or other little fish, they probably can survive. But it takes a pretty massive, substantial food web to be able to keep a significant number of fish fed.
right? And you got to feed the food web as well.
That's
So like,
exactly right. You absolutely do. You can't let it go. You can't let it go because it'll run out of food.
right. So for
So
instance, like breeding tanks where I know I've played musical fish where I've taken the parents out waiting for the eggs to hatch. So if I don't feed some kind of food in there, the snails and whatnot will try to eat the eggs instead.
yeah,
But as long as I'm throwing food in there, then the microorganisms and everything else is getting fed off the crumbs of whatever I'm putting in there.
and they're not going to mess with the eggs so much. Yeah.
Right. That's when you'll see more paramecium and infusoria and other things
Mhm.
start popping up.
And that becomes an effective food source for the new babies
Yeah.
when they hatch. That's what it's really those first couple of weeks. The first week really that's
Hmm.
most critical in the life of the fish. If they have adequate food in that first week, enough to be able to get over the hump, get fully developed, because they're typically not fully developed when they hatch. They don't have all their finnage. They may they may not even have all of their organs developed.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it's a numbers game with fish. That's why they have so
Yeah,
many babies
exactly.
all the time.
Right, right. You think about it. A fish that lays 1,000 eggs. Many of the cichlids will lay 1,000 eggs, particularly the Central American cichlids. Huge masses of eggs. Typically, 90% of those eggs hatch. So they've got 1,000 babies. How many of those babies do you think actually survive to adulthood? Probably not one.
Yeah.
They if they have 10, 15, 20 hatchings of eggs over their lifetime, and they have two fish out of all of those that survive, they have stabilized their population.
Yeah. It's a fish eat fish world out there.
Indeed, it is. Well, it's a primary food source, isn't it?
Right?
For fish as well as a lot of other things.
Yeah. That's why I
Amazing.
was vegan one time. Then I started realizing that I was feeding my fish fish. I was like,
Right.
well, what kind of vegan am I?
Yeah, right.
And then I started realizing that, well, I can't just feed all my fish lettuce. That just doesn't work, or I'd have no algae already, you know.
Right.
So then I had myself a cheeseburger, and here I am now.
Yeah, I started a protein diet last March or April, about a year ago, and I lost 50 pounds on it,
Yeah,
just eating meat
yeah.
and dairy.
That's actually what I've been doing as
Is that
well.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I eat steak every night.
I had a friend come visit me for about a month, and he's a skinny little guy and eats all kinds of carbs, and it got me messed up. So I've been fighting now, trying to get off the carbs and
Yeah.
back on my meat diet. I put on 8 pounds in the month he was here, so I now have to get that back off.
Well, I think a lot of the carbs, like carbs aren't 100% bad for you. There are good carbs. It's just like the breads and things that we get
Yeah,
out the
exactly.
store is they put a lot of fillers in them.
Right,
So where
right.
you're not really truly eating just bread, you're eating all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
Like they used to do.
cereals are another one. A
Yeah.
lot of sugar. If it has a lot of sugar, that
Sugar's so bad.
yeah, yeah,
But you still got to have some of that too. You know, it's a balance of all of it.
yeah. I'm getting back on the steak. I don't. I'm gonna have to go get a new set of teeth. I think.
Yeah.
I've decided now that I'm making a little money, I can afford to get a new set of teeth. So that's gonna be next. I got a car. Now I got to get teeth. The, the next step will be getting a decent house to live in.
Well,
So
that's
I'm
good.
hoping maybe by the summer I can do that.
Yeah, you gotta want to chew your food,
Really? Well,
especially.
I can. Yeah, it just takes so long to do it.
Yeah, but it's important. If you don't,
Well, I have a hiatal hernia,
mm,
so if I don't chew real well, it gets blocked up pretty quick.
yeah, your
So I
stomach,
got to be really careful about that.
your stomach can't break it down as well.
Right.
So I learned a lot from like fish gut biomes and as well as my own gut biome,
Huh.
and applied a lot of that to the fish. That's when I started learning more about the fish because I used to eat processed food up in Indianapolis all the time.
Right.
Your gut biome just cannot break that stuff down. And if you overeat, it just collects and collects and collects and collects. And that's why, like bodybuilders and stuff, they'll eat small meals throughout the day, but ones that like burn calories that'll get your stomach burning or getting.
Right.
So you got to think about it as like a keeping a fire in the oven. If you
Huh.
just keep throwing stuff in it, it's going to be like a huge bonfire. It's just going to always be big. But if you're just throwing a little bit in there, keeping the metabolism burning throughout the day, then it can burn off that excess a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to get back into better quality snack foods. That's where I have a problem.
Yeah, it's hard to do in America.
Yeah, because it's all crackers and it's all flour,
Yeah.
flour and sugar.
It's all commercialized profits, profits, profits.
Yeah, and all kind of preservatives and additives and God knows what else. I ran into a friend recently who's a hunter, deer, goose, duck. He's doing turkey right now, and he has all of his meat processed. So he gave me a big bag full of processed
Uh,
venison.
ooh.
Just wonderful.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Thoroughly enjoying that.
That's my favorite red meat.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's low in fat and it's real high quality.
Yeah.
And these tend to be corn-fed deer. They're living in farm areas.
Well,
Uh,
that'll get you healthy.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see what's going on here. I
Yeah.
haven't been following
Speaking of dinner, I'm gonna have to get to that at some point here.
the.
Making me hungry.
Yeah, me
Talking
too.
about food.
I'm gonna have to eat something tonight. I haven't eaten all day. I had a hamburger earlier. DBC's got the word patience. Patience is the key.
Oh yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, really. Well, what time is it? 8:30. We've been at it here about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. We started about 15 minutes early. So we're doing real well.
Yeah, yeah. And we are planning on doing another one then on my
Yeah, let's do one. Well, I'm on my channel. Let's do one on your channel next week.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. So next week I will be at the AGA.
You want to do it in 2 weeks, or you want to do it there?
I think it would be kind of cool to do it there.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Give us a chance to see what's going on there too.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll try to do that. I
Same
know that's
time.
a rough day for me because like we'll pretty much be leaving after my live stream and trying to get there that morning because the first two talks are like the talks I really want to see, which start at 9 in the morning. So it's going to be
Where is it?
North Carolina, Raleigh.
In Raleigh. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's about 8 hours for me.
Yeah, it's a haul.
Yeah.
What time you want to do this?
I think we'll do it at 7 again. Should work.
Okay, that
We'll
sounds great.
talk. We'll try to smooth more out of like a time. We'll see because I don't know when the banquet is too.
Okay. Yeah, work around whatever you need to and let me know.
Okay, so yeah, I'll check the
That'll be
schedule
fun.
and all that.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Wonderful. Wonderful. It's been fun.
It has been fun,
Great.
and I like it because we never know what we're going to talk about either.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's very casual.
Yeah, I like it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Lucas.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you too.
See you next Saturday. And see all of you guys. I hope you had fun. Let's see how many are here. We're at 153.
Oh, nice.
That ain't bad.
No.
Still hanging in there.
Right. Hour and a half later.
Hour and a half later, right?
Yeah.
We could go on all night, but we might fall asleep.
Well, I know I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, me too.
Started talking about life.
Right.
Started getting into my
Start
head.
talking about food. You know,
Right.
it's time to move on. Love you, Lucas. Thanks.
All right. Love you too, Father Fish.
Bye, guys.
See ya.